Hello, welcome to the People Profit Podcast, the show where we flip the script on traditional business thinking and prove that when you put people first, profits follow. I'm Sandra Coker, your guide on this journey to more engaged teams, loyal customers, and a healthier bottom line. These episodes are brought to you by Human Power Solutions, helping organizations unlock the human potential that powers performance. Whether you're a leader, an HR pro, or a curious change maker, buckle up. We're diving into fresh stories, real-world strategies, and a few laughs along the way. Ready to turn your workplace into a profit-powered people machine? Let's get started. Welcome to the People Profit Podcast, where we explore the intersection of people, culture, and performance. I'm your host, Sandra Coker, and today I am thrilled to welcome an extraordinary guest, Dianna Fioravanti, President and CEO of Kuehne Nagel in Canada. Dianna is a trailblazer, the first female president in the company's Canadian history, and under her leadership, the company has not only achieved gender parity, but has also received multiple Great Place to Work awards, including being named one of the best workplaces for transportation and logistics and best workplaces led by women. Dianna is known for her unique leadership philosophy grounded in trust, authenticity, and purpose. And today we're digging in to see how she flips the switch to build connection, inspire teams, and lead with a real mindset. Dianna, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Sandra. I'm super happy to be here today and share what we've done.
I know we're getting to meet for the first time in October. You and I have corresponded a little bit back and forth, and I'm super excited to talk with you today, which will make our meeting in October even better. So,
Absolutely.
So what has inspired you to pursue leadership, and how did your journey lead you to the CEO role?
Absolutely. So I've taken a bit of a different path through my career. I actually started my career in insurance and risk management. There, learning the importance of solving problems for clients and building strong relationships. I had a mentor years back that would always say, if you want to grow in your career, you got to solve bigger problems. And I think you've heard that too, Sandra.
Yeah.
That foundation led me to leadership roles in companies like Aon, global company, an economical and national company here in Canada, where I managed national sales teams and underwriting teams and really discovered how culture and people can drive results.
Yeah.
And in 2014, I became CEO of Nakora Insurance in Canada, later president for North America for the same company. And in leading Nakora, it was an incredible opportunity to grow a business while creating culture where people felt empowered to succeed. And that experience taught me that the right environment can truly unlock potential, not just for individuals, but for entire organizations. And then in 2022, I took over as president of Kuehne Nagel Canada, so the role I'm in today. And right now I oversee 2,100 logistics professionals, and we've got about 40.
Wow.
Yeah, we got about 40 locations across Canada. So we've got about 25 warehouses and we've got 15 branch offices. And our teams, as you mentioned, we're recognized in Great Place to Work and one of Canada's best workplaces. And what excites me the most here is how investing in people and culture have really driven not only better results, but better service and experiences for our customers. And we have our customers are across all verticals. We move goods around the world and we store them, but healthcare, automotive, high tech, consumer goods. And so all of the experiences I've had both on the insurance side and now in logistics have really been inspired my upcoming book called Flip the Switch, which is about moving past fear and past playing it safe to igniting both personal and professional potential and truly crushing it. So the book's called Flip the Switch, from playing it safe to crushing it.
That's awesome.
And for me, it's always been about that connection with people, connecting the purpose and connecting that with performance. And so that's what really inspired me about your podcast. And I was super happy to be part of that today.
It's funny, our introduction, we talk about flipping the switch in the introduction to our podcast. So I love that. And I'm excited that you're writing a book. I've got a list of questions here for you, but this one here is just from what you just said. Why do you think it is so hard for so many CEOs to understand that when you take care of your people, your customers and your clients get better service? What do you think is the barrier there? Because when I talk to CEOs, they're like, oh, that, I guess that makes sense, but it's a new concept.
It's interesting. Throughout my entire career, it's almost like I've been swimming up current with that sort of thing. And I think a lot of it has to do with the market and what the analysts and investors are expecting in the traded companies that I work for. It's easier, I think, to manage stuff and manage results, and that of which is certain. And what's interesting for me is that we're coming up into, in the last number of years since COVID, that there's a lot of uncertainty around us. And I often share with leaders that no longer do we have 3 to 5 year plans anymore because it's not certain. We don't have a process anymore is not certain because of AI. There's so many things evolving. Organizational structures are evolving because the market and environment is changing. So that's not certain.
Yeah.
The only thing that I put all my investment in is culture and people, because culture can be certain. When people walk through my doors here in Kuehne, I don't know, what's happened to them at home, but I want to guarantee you that when they walk through those doors, that they feel psychologically safe, that they have an environment that they can thrive in, and they feel connected to a culture and to a family that they can always count on. And so for me, in a time of uncertainty, this is what we can provide as leaders. And it's not easy because it's not easily measurable. And I think that's why historically it was never popular, because nobody could ever measure the true impact. Although I think now that we're seeing a lot of engagement surveys and we've got a lot of sort of measurable ways that we can see the impact, things are becoming much more clear for leaders.
Yeah, just retention and just the attraction of talent. Like I always talk with our clients, like you want to be best in class of a place to work. People have to know someone to get in, right? So people don't leave. And not because they feel secure, but because they don't want to, because they love it. So where in your career did you just flip that switch, right? Where you really had that moment of, oh, this is where it's at. Do you remember that moment where it came to you?
So yeah, and it was actually the first year when I took over for Nakora, when I became CEO for the first time, where I came into an organization that I had assumed a lot of things about the business. It was a very profitable business from the outside, but on the inside, it was very much an old mom and pop type organization being run. And so I realized when I came in that there's a lot of things that were broken, and it had been managed by someone who was very control and command around results. People weren't really allowed to speak up. People lived in fear. And coming into that organization, it was not necessarily an environment that I was familiar with. Yeah. So it was a very tough go for the first number of months. And I had to figure out who my allies were who wanted the same type of culture that I did. And I realized the only way to fix this is to create an environment for people to feel safe, to speak up, so that we could innovate, so we could create better processes, we would have better systems, that we could actually collaborate to drive customer experience. And that took time. And I had to figure out how to build the trust. And it was a lot of getting into the grassroots of the business to understand, so that I could actually build out that roadmap forward for everyone and get them to buy in. And a lot of the ideas came from them.
Yeah, I know. And so that's interesting, because I think you and I both know that there's oftentimes the feet on the street, the people that are actually interacting with the customers and the clients, and the ones that are doing the work often get forgotten. And that's the love of Power Solutions, right? Is that you take care of those people and everything else will just float up. How did you, I couldn't imagine going into an environment and working day to day in an environment like that, right? Where it's like you are afraid to say anything or do anything. And there must have been a lot of baggage that people had around that. Were you well received, or was it real cautionary? And what did you do to break through that?
People were so scared. So I came in, I think I was in my mid 30s, and I was pretty much the youngest person in the organization. And yeah, people weren't sure how to take me, and I was female. That's first. So that's been a consistent measure in my roles in the C-suite. But they didn't know, they thought I was going to come in, and they were fearful of a lot of change, because although they were living in fear, they were used to that. It was consistent for them. It was their certainty, unfortunately. So they were really, I think, scared around what I was going to do and whether I was going to let people go, whether because new leaders come in and that was never a good thing in the past. So I really took my time to really understand what was going on in the organization. I met with each person individually. Again, that's how I found my allies. And then I had fireside chats every week, get to know Diana. And I would talk about me as a mom. I would talk about me as a wife and as a business person, my journey. What are the things that are important to me? I talked about my values. And I think that really helped them understand a little bit more. And they started coming out of their shell. And then they started talking more about themselves. And I would ask questions like, why do we do it this way? And then they'd say, I don't know why we do it this way. We were just told to do it this way. And so through those fireside chats, we ended up actually building the playbook that I actually executed on. And they realized, oh, she's listening. I shared that idea at the fireside chat. So it took a lot of time, but it was really about building that trust and connecting that culture. And that's been my playbook all along in leadership. And I've done that in a few different roles since then, including the one I'm in today. And it's all taken different forms, but it's worked. And so I didn't want to change a winning game, but it takes a lot of time. And that's where a lot of leaders, managers don't necessarily want to put in that time. They'd rather get right to it and get to that next step as opposed to taking a step back and listening.
Yeah. And I think that our podcast is really geared toward those newer leaders and those middle managers coming up in the ranks. And so I think that one of the messages here is absolutely to take a beat, get to know your people. If you want to do the next thing, it's not always getting to the next thing. It's getting the buy-in from the people to get you to the next thing. It just go forward faster. I love it. You talk about your keep it real, R.E.A.L, all capital letters, right? And those leadership values. What does the REAL stand for? What is the acronym that you have? And how do those show up in your day-to-day?
So yeah, and that's my motto is keep it real. And because I am a very, I would say, unconventional leader from the standpoint that I do things that I know fit my personality, my values in order to learn. So I always say keep it real because R is for resilience and you've got to take the shot. And those that are living in fear that are unable to speak are not going to take the shot for it because of that fear. And so we've got to remove that. So if we can be resilient ourselves, we can talk about failing fast, failing forward. We as leaders making decisions where, when someone makes a mistake, we're not punishing them. We're using that as a learning opportunity to go forward. Resilience means first we got to self-lead. So keeping it real for me is I got to keep it real for myself first. So I lead by example. So take the shot because the shots that you don't take, you're going to miss out on that value. The second E, the E is for empathy and trust. So I truly believe that empathy is the currency to build trust in an organization and being actively listening. So a lot of what we've just talked about, ensuring that we can execute on what our people want, what we're hearing, and showcasing that to them that we actually really care. I truly believe that AI is coming into this world. There's a lot of things changing around us. Empathy is really the humanity that superpower that we have as humans to bring to the table. And then A is for authenticity. And I think I've spent most of my life up until the last 5 years or so trying to be a perfectionist in everything I did. Nothing was ever good enough. I wanted to make sure that I fine-tuned my strategy or my process. And so what I've realized, especially since COVID, is, we don't always have the time to be perfect. It's better to get it done. And so our imperfections are actually what make us human and what makes us beautiful. And those that love us most in life love us because maybe my nose isn't perfect or I may not be the perfect weight or whatever, but it's because of what I bring to the table in my uniqueness that is actually, why they do. So being imperfectly perfect is what I talk about every day. Be your authentic self. And when you love yourself for who you are, people are going to really enjoy being around you because you enjoy yourself. And then L is for legacy. I'm probably not going to be in this role 3 years from today. So what's the legacy I want to leave behind? And that was something growing up in my career that I didn't really think about. I was always thinking about my next step. How do I get to the next rung on the ladder? But if you think about what impact you're making today and the role that you're in and creating that environment for people to thrive, that's what they're going to remember. They're not going to remember the profit results that I delivered in 2024, culture that Diana built for Canada within Kuehne, where people felt safe and felt like they could thrive.
And they're going to remember those fireside chats, and they're going to remember that their ideas were meant. It's how you make people feel. I love that.
Yeah.
So you think about these things: resilience, empathy, authenticity, and legacy. Which one of these do you think is the hardest for most leaders to embrace?
Oh, they're all hard depending on the person. Empathy might be easier than the other, resilience. But I think that authenticity piece, just actually really showing up as who you are. I feel like there's, even today, I was just in a session with leaders, and a gentleman asked me, how do you bring the personal into the business? I'm either personal, or I'm in having a personal conversation, or I'm in business. And so it was interesting for me, because there was a point in my career where once I was able to bring harmony to the roles of in my life, being a mother, being a wife, being a businesswoman, a corporate woman, that's when actually the magic started happening. I'm not someone different at work than I am at home. I bring my full authentic self to everything that I do. And so if I see someone at the supermarket on a Saturday, I may be dressed a bit differently than I am at work, but they're going to see the same Diana.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's probably the greatest lesson that everyone can learn and grow into, but sometimes it's the hardest.
Yeah. I love, what you said, let's get it done. It doesn't need to be perfect. And that's one of my philosophies. And my producer heard it today. I'm a ready, fire, aim person. Let's just get started. And let's fire the shot, see where it hits, how far off we are from the target, and just make some readjustments. And I think if you have that safe environment and you have that psychological safety in your organization, it really does provide spots for innovation. And that's where the magic happens in the organizations.
Running a business is hard. Developing your people shouldn't be. At Human Power Solutions, we act as your outsourced chief learning officer, designing custom learning and development experiences that actually move the needle. No fluff, no cookie cutter workshops, just results. Whether your people need better communication, stronger leadership, or less burnout, we provide strategic solutions that align with your goals and keep your team moving forward. Visit hpowersolutions.com and unlock your team's full potential without disrupting operations.
You have a large 2,100 people. That's a lot of people to be in charge of. How do you encourage that psychological safety and communication across that entire team?
And actually, we just made an acquisition as well. So that's another 500 people that we're going to be integrating. So we're getting bigger as we go. I think so. I know what actually really helped move the dial in that respect was usually in that type of organization where people are feeling a little bit fearful, it's usually a control and command type of atmosphere. And so coming into all of my roles in the last number of years, I had to say, I got to get rid of the hierarchy. Now, hierarchy is important in some things when it comes to processes or whatever customer requirements there are. But in a communication style, for me, I needed to get rid of it. And part of that meant me as the CEO needed to come down to the grass level, the grassroots of the organization once again, to speak to people, to get to know people and let them know it's okay for you to direct message the president if you have something to share. I actually opened up a new email chain, future.forward@kuehne for people to share great ideas with me in various ways. But by doing that, going into an organization with my jeans on, having a cup of coffee and doing a fireside chat allowed them to see that being a CEO isn't about being in a suit all day, being stuffy and trying to be perfect, right? So I showed them that authenticity and I shared personal stories, my journey, and I think showcasing that really helped them understand, okay, this is like a bit different than what we're used to. Then my team, my executive team, we all caught on this bandwagon and we realized we got to get closer to the front lines. So they started doing coffee with a VP. And every month we have a different VP that's spotlighted, and they just, whoever signs up for the sessions, they can ask whatever they want. Our VPs share about their personal lives, a lot of which we got 50% women. So they're talking about 2 are on maternity leave right now. And they've shared a lot about how they juggle their life and how we've made things more flexible for them to have a corporate career as well as being a mom and being a wife. So it's really helped to bring that real authentic leadership down to the front line so people can really see, and we're very transparent. I share my travel plans. People know where I am. There's no secrets. It's really a very open atmosphere that is really, over time, has really improved the psychological safety and created that safe environment.
That's great. That's what a wonderful. We wouldn't be in business if companies were all like yours. So I'll save that statement for a minute. What does it take to really build a star team? You mentioned that in the prep time, not just a team of stars. So I think about the NBA where you've got like the stars and they're like everything, but what does it take to build that star team?
So years ago, you would try to find the star player to bring on your team, and there was always protocols around the hiring and a lot of confidentiality around who knew who was applying. And as last 5 or 6 years, I realized, listen, if we want to build a collaborative team and really feel like we are one, we all have to have a say in who joins the team. And so as a very collaborative leader, I'm just hiring right now 2 executive roles for our team. Very unconventional way of interviewing, but I interview people in various different ways. I have different members of my team coming in at different times. We do a meal, we do one-on-ones, we do team interviews. So someone will come in 3 or 4 times before we actually get to the final round. And through those sessions, we find out more and more about the candidates, and the candidates get to find out more about the team they're joining. By doing this, we really get a well-rounded individual. Not only do they have the skill set, but we also, will they have our backs? Can we trust them? And I often share, this kind of sounds weird, but when I'm looking for someone on my team, it's almost like you're looking for a life partner. In our business, we're global, we're traveling around the world. Do I want to travel with this person? I want to spend 2 weeks in Asia with this person. So I'm thinking about all these things as I'm hiring my executives, because we spend a lot of time together.
Right.
And it really helps to build that star team. So by the time they come on board, they know what our team is like, what the expectations are, that it's more than just showing up to run their line of business or to run their functional unit. This is actually, you're part of a board and you are going to be leading by example and very collaborative, working together for the goodness of all of the people here across Canada. So you have to have the best interests of everyone at heart, regardless of your role in the team.
Yeah, that's great. Did you ever, so as a younger leader coming in, thinking back to the days, did you ever deal with imposter syndrome when you're coming up in the corporate world? And then thinking about the young leaders that are listening here today, what advice would you give to people to get through that?
Absolutely. I think early on in my career, for sure, I suffered from that a lot. And a lot of it was growing up in male-dominated industries. I was often the only woman at the table. So I was thinking different. I was very much, my thoughts and my strategies were very different. My values sometimes were, so I didn't sometimes relate to the men that I was working with, and often felt like maybe I need to be more like them. So I would not wear dresses. I would wear suits. I would downplay anything that was feminine for quite a long time in my career. And one specific instant, I was hired as my first vice president role. So going from management as a VP. And I was hired in a highly technical role in the insurance industry, when typically I has always been in general management. It's been in sales, leading teams. But this was a highly technical insurance underwriting role that would be going to Bermuda to negotiate reinsurance deals. And it was a big role. And I remember being recruited for it, and I thought, oh my God, this would be so cool. It was for a great company. Just all in all, it'd be a great, great role. So I got through the interview process to the point of the last interview, and I'm thinking, I am so good at sales. I am selling them on the fact that I am highly technical in this world. So I got the job. And I thought, oh my gosh. So I remember showing up that first day. I was given this beautiful office, and it was in a gorgeous building. It was in my hometown. So it was like 5 minutes drive to the office. I knew I had a lot of travel in this role, but it was nice to have a short commute. But it was very lavish. I had my own assistant for the first time. I didn't even know what to tell her she should be doing. So I was thinking, how did I get here? Like, I can't even believe I'm here. And do they even know that I'm not highly technical in this role? And the person that I was replacing, who had been promoted in the organization, he was like the Siri of insurance. You would just ask a question, it was bang, he knew it.
Yeah.
So I was spending the first few weeks trying to get to know my team, and realized I have a lot of technical people around me. Like, they knew a lot of stuff that I didn't know. So I'm like a sponge. And I knew insurance, but not to the wording. So that people don't want to read and get bored about. So I remember having a conversation with my CEO, who was a female, 3 weeks in, and she said, "How are things going?" And I said, "Good." And I said, "Can you just give me a lay of the land of what you feel? What would be the biggest accelerator here for my team? And what are your expectations 6 months out?" And she started laughing. She goes, "You're wondering why you're here, aren't you?" And I smiled and I said, and she says, "As you can tell, you've got a team of technicians." And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "We don't need more technicians." She said, "What I need is someone to build a strategy. I need someone to take us to the promised land who understands the broker side of the business," which is where I came from.
Mm.
Be able to not only build the strategy, but get buy-in from the people and then bring them along the way. And as she's talking, I'm thinking, oh, that's me. That's me. That's me.
Yeah.
I share this story a lot because oftentimes we look at the person we're replacing and think we have to be like that person.
Mm.
Get that imposter syndrome, like, oh, I'm not like him or I'm not like her, and I'm not going to do it that way. And I realized and that was a long time ago now, but I realized, hey, listen, I'm going to bring something new to the table. They're hiring me because of me.
Mm.
And what
Yeah.
I told them at the interview is actually me. Moving forward, and even in this role I'm in today, I'm doing it far differently than my predecessor. He was very good as well. It just, we come from different backgrounds and we have a
Right.
different take on everything. And I'm female and I don't come from freight forwarding and supply chain. So it's a different lens. And I'm okay with being authentically me. But that was a learning in my career on that imposter syndrome. And I think after that, I really got into the mold of who Diana is as opposed to trying to be someone else.
I love it. That's awesome. That's great. What a great story. And must have been very confirming for you that they knew who you were, even though you sold them on the technical side of Diana, but they saw through that and saw who you were, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things I want to talk about is setting those scary goals and condensing timeframes. Can you break that down for us as it pertains to, as you're trying to build up your organization or even a division?
Yeah, a lot of people don't dream big enough. 99% of people don't dream big enough. And I always say, unless it's scary, it's not big enough. And it's really important to not only have that dream, but ensure that you've got a focus in place. And if you want to lose 10 pounds, don't spend a year, give yourself a year. You can lose 10 pounds in 3 months or 6 months. Really set your time around, what it's actually going to take you so you can focus on less. And especially in our organization, there is so much going on that you can get lost in so many different priorities. And so I'm constantly paring it back, saying, listen, let's pick 3 things. And so that team together are focusing on that. And we put a time frame together and really try to do smaller things and hit those milestones as opposed to trying to do too much. And whether it's a lot of the employee initiatives that we do, we use that philosophy as well. And people are buying into that. And then we celebrate the little steps forward rather than waiting till the very end so people can see the progress. We can actually communicate the progress that we're making. So we're all feeling good about what we're doing.
I love that. That's great. That's great. And you've mentioned a couple of times you're a mom, a wife, a business person, and people might look at you from the outside and say, oh, she's got it all. What does that look like for leaders? And how, in today's world, remote work, hybrid workplace, all of that, where there's no more of this work-life balance. It's just it's all blended together.
Yeah.
So how can leaders redefine that phrase, having it all, without burning out?
It's interesting for me, this notion of having it all is really subjective, right? And it's evolving.
Mm-hmm.
What does it all mean to you? What does it mean to me? And I really believe in taking the ownership back in what it means for you personally. We talked about just going for the shot, being resilient. Messy is the new sexy. It's okay if it's not perfect. We just got to go do it. And we often also talk a lot about it's okay to delegate. And as a woman, years ago, I couldn't order groceries and have them delivered. There's a lot of things online you couldn't do, and now you can. So if you can actually spend more time with your family and on meaningful things, and then just delegate the stuff that actually causes stress and that will take away from your personal relationships. I've really learned that. So you can have more of what you want by actually doing less.
Yeah. I love home delivery. I love meal delivery, all of it. I Love it. And it's not that I have the time. I just hate doing it. I'd rather be doing other things.
I grew up in a household, in a family household, where my mom was perfect in setting tables, and she was a great cook, and she did a lot of things to bring the family together. So there's a lot of pressure on women to be that perfect wife and perfect mother and do all of these things. And so I realized that you can't do it all. So what can you delegate? What can you do together with your family so that it's not just all on you? There's a lot of different choices we can make that I think are just as important and can be just as valued by your kids and your spouse and your family.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, for sure. Both my boys know how to cook, and my daughter does not, which is really funny to me. Yeah, they just.
Same for you.
Yeah. I think my boys decided to learn how to cook so they can impress the girls. I think that's it. And my daughter just doesn't do it. Her boyfriend does.
That is very attractive. My husband can cook very well, so it is a very attractive feature for sure.
Yes, it really is. What's one thing that leaders should stop doing right now, and one thing that they should start? So as you're looking at the corporate America right now and how it's really evolving. It's evolving. AI is really helping us evolve and save time and be more productive. And what do you think? What's some of the old school things that are like, we got to get rid of that and start doing something along these lines?
Focusing on stuff and thinking the way that we used to do things. I'm so tired of hearing that. We've got to do things differently now. And you mentioned time, like time is finite. We have to win back more time somehow. And so you have choices on how you spend your time. You can waste your time. You can waste your time on Netflix or that sort of thing. You can spend your time doing things that are probably not very productive, or you can invest your time. And my advice is always be very intentional around who you spend your time with and how you're spending your time. And those that are afraid of AI, like I just am so excited about it. And I'm so enthused with it because I think it's going to save me so much time. And it already has in various different things in my business. And so I'm not worried about what it's going to take over. I'm more concerned about how quickly I can learn it so it can help propel me further. And those that can capture that are really going to be full steam ahead. So those that are in the traditional mindset of the way things were, get rid of it. This is a brand new world. The playbooks we used to use, they're done. They're expired. We need to move forward building our new playbooks, and they're going to evolve. They're not going to be static. And AI is going to really help us do that if we really are intentional.
Yeah, it amazes me, people that are like, I don't want to touch it. And I'm like, no, it's here to stay. So you better start touching it so you don't fall way behind. I'm agreeing with you. It has saved so much time and really not taking over anything, but just helping just to move the needle on certain things that would take hours now take not very long, which is really great. Diana, this has been such a powerful and uplifting conversation. It's been great. Before we wrap up, can you tell our listeners how they connect with you and learn more about your company?
Absolutely. So please connect with me, follow me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn and really enjoy communicating with those there. I have my book coming out at the end of this year called Flip the Switch. So if you connect with me, I will share when that's coming out. But really appreciate my time with you today, Sandra. It was a really enjoyable conversation, and I look forward to hearing the feedback.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. And we'll make sure that all of your links are in the comments area below here. So thank you so much for being with us today and sharing such inspiring insights and building trust and flipping the mindset switch, right? And leading with purpose. If you love today's episode, here's what you can do to keep the conversation going. Subscribe to the People Profit Podcast wherever you listen. Like this episode and drop us a review if things resonated with you or if you have questions, and share with a friend or a fellow leader who might need to hear this. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, when people thrive, profit follows. Have a great day, everyone.
That's a wrap on this episode of the People Profit Podcast. If you found a nugget of wisdom or even just a spark of inspiration, share the love, subscribe, leave us a review, and pass the episode along to a colleague who's ready to build a people-first culture. Big thanks to our sponsor, Human Power Solutions, for championing workplace where humans thrive and profits rise. Want to learn how they can energize your team? Head over to hpowersolutions.com to get started. I'm Sandra Coker, reminding you that when you invest in people, you invest in profit. See you next time.